country's fortunes.
Yeah, it's actually forced the central bank to step in. They raised the benchmark interest rate in Ukraine from 6.5% to 9.5% overnight. This is an effort to try and curb inflation, but also to prop up the currency, which has really suffered as this crisis has been unfolding. This is what's happened to the value of the hryvnia against the dollar. It's down just at 7 cents. That was the close of trading on Monday. So it really has been battered. In fact, it's the world's worst performing currency so far this year against the dollar. This adding to the problem that Kiev has. It's running out of foreign exchange, the money it needs to pay its import bill. It only has about 2 months worth of reserves left. It's waiting for the first instalment of that $18 billion IMF bailout, which the central bank governor says is coming soon, and certainly not soon enough for Ukraine. It's also struggling with Russian demands to pay gas bill outstanding of $2 billion. This all as the country's economy faces into its third recession since 2008.
Affecting the markets at all?
Not in a dramatic way today, actually. Fairly flat start, in fact, on the European markets to trading today. The shares just seen nudging into negative territory. In London, the British retailer Debenhams has seen shares open up almost 1%, despite posting a 25% fall in profit in the last 6 months. That casting doubt in general over the strength of the consumer recovery in the UK. Investors not too surprised, though. And the brewer SABMiller down almost 2% after its results showing slower growth in sales. Things over in Asia, the Nikkei in Japan up in positive territory today. That helped by a lead from Wall Street overnight, but things not so great in China. As you can see, Shanghai and the Hang Seng in Hong Kong both down pretty significantly. This after data showing that China's money supply had shrunk in recent months. We are getting growth figures out of China tomorrow, so investors obviously a bit skittish before that.
Some French news now. The government here trying to make life easier, really, for businesses. 50 different ways. That's the idea, isn't it?
Yes, the first lot of 50 ways that the this is all part of Francois Hollande's plan to make it simpler to do business here in France. Every 6 months, the government is going to announce 50 new measures to ease the huge administrative burden on entrepreneurs. Also has the handy effect of saving the state €2 billion a year. Now, some of the rules set for the CHOP do seem a little unusual, though, as Calvin now explains.
Cutting through the red tape. This advertising printing business has fewer than 20 employees. Each time the owner hires a new staff member, he has to fill out a dozen forms.
It's a lot. While we spend time on this, we're not looking for work for the company.
Soon, small businesses like this one will only need to complete a single form online. It's one of 50 recommendations on ways to cut red tape and save the state's €2 billion a year on admin costs. Earlier this year, President François Hollande promised to make doing business in France easier. In return, companies will create jobs in a bid to lower record unemployment. More than 3 million French people are jobless. Another measure, simplifying the payslip from 30 lines of charges and deductions to just a few basic details like this payslip from the UK. Business owners say this is long overdue.
We've got someone employed part-time just doing this throughout the year, checking payslips and doing all the paperwork. It'd be a great time saver if we don't have to hire that person. We're saving money that we can invest elsewhere.
France will also simplify its labour code, scrapping unnecessary procedures and rules, including a law from the 1930s requiring bakers to tell the police when they go on holiday.
Let's take a quick look now at some of the day's other business stories. And sales of the food giant Nestlé grew slower than expected in the first 3 months of the year. The company's earnings were hit by cold weather in the US and spendthrift consumers in Europe. It posted lower than expected revenues of just under $24 billion. The pharmaceutical company Roche says its sales have been hit by fluctuating currency values. The Swiss firm says a weaker US dollar and the Japanese yen drove down its sales by 6% to just over $13 billion. But Roche still expects to report higher profits for 2014. Its shares up 1.5% in Zurich today. And consumers in the United States have a chance to buy Google Glass today. The internet giant is opening up sales of its augmented reality glasses from 1 p.m. GMT. Instead of needing the usual referral to get a pair, tech fans will be able to stump up $1,500 for the glasses, while stocks last, of course.
Of course. Now, finally, tastes are changing. Not sure what to make of this one. In the UK, people are apparently thinking Italian for their bubbly. That's not going to go down very well here, is it?
No, it certainly isn't. This is new study from Rabobank showing that imports of Prosecco to the UK shot up 40% last year.
Okay.
That's hitting its French rival Champagne, though, as you might imagine, which another survey showed that sales had fallen by volume by 5%. In 2013. Now, the report's author says it's because a bottle of bubbly is becoming more of an everyday occasion now. People are willing to splash out more often, but perhaps not as much as the top quality bottles of champagne. Not too much cause for concern, though. The UK still remains champagne's biggest export market. So we're still enjoying it.
Glad to hear it. OK, we can pop a cork now for the moon, in fact, because as Stephen was just giving me a little line before we go to Flow, we're going to go to the moon and back before we go to Flow, because we can show you those latest live images, those ones are, of the total lunar eclipse. The first one since September 2011. It's just about getting underway. Those images, in fact, filmed from the Americas. I'm not exactly sure where, but somewhere in North or South America. Apparently there's going to be 4 of them over the next couple of years, which is called a tetrad. So there you go. You've been educated. We all have this morning. Thank you very much, Stephen. Flo's here, as you saw in those shots there. Focus is the paper not talking about the moon, are they? They're talking about Ukraine.
They're talking a lot about Ukraine. The